How's it going, everybody? Robin here. Welcome to my channel, Oracle Rising. Guys, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to talk about boundaries to a certain extent, but in a different way. And I kind of debated doing this one or not. Sometimes I don't do things that are just really related to exiting the matrix or spirituality, but it could be just a little bit of a life hack or something like that, however you want to call it. So I saw this really interesting meme and I thought it'd be really helpful to break it down for you guys. You know, if somebody doesn't get back to you 100% like lickety split, and you can see that they've read your message, you know, this is really there's no secrets. Like in Facebook Messenger, if somebody has seen your message, you can see that. So sometimes people get really upset about not being responded to immediately. So getting used to people's communication styles, and sometimes outside reasons for people not immediately hopping onto your message or answering the phone, you know, it can be a little bit difficult, especially if you've been in situations where you've dealt with toxic parents, where you had to be responsible to them for your time. You know, it can be difficult when you're dealing with people that have completely different communication styles than you, or if you've been in abusive relationships or had to deal with narcissists, you know, so it can really affect the way that you look at how people are responding to you. So, and something I learned as a parent is that, you know, people really, really do have completely different communication styles. I have two boys, and my older son said to me that he just really resented having to feel pressured to respond to people immediately. You know, and I was like, oh, that's very interesting because, you know, I'm on social media all the time. I'm responding to YouTube video comments. I manage my Facebook page and Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, and I love it. So, but then my younger son, he's like a 50-50 hit or miss, and it took me a little while not to be offended by that because I'm such an immediate person, and I give people access to me all the time, but to me it's super fun. I have that kind of personality, right? So if you're dealing with somebody and you know them quite well and there's been a change in their communications, like, should you get stressed out? Should you get upset? Especially if it's a romantic relationship or it is your parent or your child. So it can take a little bit to just sort of step back from that emotional connection. Like, oh, why aren't they responding to me? You know, the ego can take a bit of a hit. So I wanted to share some things that I found here. I've got 5 things. You know, sometimes people go through a life change and you have absolutely no idea what it is. So, I talked about this on my other channel. Like, I worked for a company for 10 years and then they did a mass exit of staff. They released 20% of their staff in one day, you know, and I was part of that 20%. So that was really kind of mind blowing to me. So I really just stayed to myself. I didn't tell a whole lot of people about it, and I sure didn't feel like talking to people, you know. And so if you can think of people going through stuff like that, or, you know, just really big life changes where they need time to absorb it, you know, what if they got dumped, or, you know, or what if they had to take their pet to the vet for the final vet visit, you know. There's things that people, they need time to sit with it. They maybe need time to cry, or, you know, not cry, or be angry, or, you know. So this is where this instant access into other people's lives can be very, you know, it's a double-edged sword, you know. People post everything on social media, you know. It's like people have to post every time they have a body function, it seems like. It's like, why, so there's no privacy, so we're used to that. So when people back off and they need that, and then they're not posting on social media for a little while, maybe they're going through something, and all you can do is let people know, hey, I'm here for you, haven't heard from you for a while, everything okay? And then if you don't get an instant response, you have to kind of consider who that person is this normal for them? You know what I mean? So try not to panic. It's probably got nothing to do with you. So, and some people, this is the second point, they're just trying to survive day to day. This is a really rough economic climate we're in right now. Or maybe some people have things like, a physical affliction, you know what I mean? And things are a little bit more difficult for them on some days than others. Or they find public transit very challenging, or they have the boss from hell, or just things are very challenging daily for them, or they could have a really long commute to work and just need to shut down and unwind and have that alone time and space. So, day to day here for me, sometimes it's really long, especially in the winters, man, so it can be very challenging and exhausting. So try to think about these things. If somebody doesn't bounce on your instant message or your text message or whatever kind of request, you just want to reach out and just give people space to breathe and deal with their life. The third one is really important. That this one can happen to me too, because I'm Aries and I run a lot of social media stuff, and I like to be a support for people, but I also have hypothyroid, right? So exhaustion can come in. I'm kind of like the Queen of Wands in tarot. Like, I keep on going and going and going, probably, and I know it's too far for me already, and I pushed myself too far. I've done one last thing too many, and then exhaustion takes over, and you just need to lay out, if you just maybe want to lay on the couch or just go to bed and shut all your notifications off, so you just really have to understand people and sort of look at them from a little bit of a distance, you know what I mean? And again, that instant access into people's lives, it can be very troubling. If we wanted to go on Do Not Disturb, like when I was growing up, you'd take the phone off the hook and that was it. There was no, there was no computers, there was no nothing, everything was a bit of a slower pace, so this fourth one is really, really huge, okay? So personal trauma. People can deal with things that are coming up, like going through the dark night of the soul, just dealing with things from childhood that were very damaging or abusive, and things like that can hit you, at different times. And, you could have lost somebody very important to you, because this can be you or it can be somebody else. So, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying you. And then pain comes in waves, so personal trauma, and not everybody wants to talk about everything all the time, and they need that. This is where you're giving people the respect to get back to you when they have time or when they feel ready. This one is really important too, you guys. The fifth thing I have here is that they're just too tired to pretend anymore. Again, people are having that day-to-day stress, and some people are working multiple jobs or no jobs, and maybe not having enough money to eat or pay their bills, and maybe not feeling like everything's okay. This is a very challenging time in our history. So again, that exposure to social media, where people are putting on their best life in social media, and then it can make other people feel like, well, I suck, so that basis of comparison, I I don't pretend, I just tell people, hey man, I'm too tired right now. But other people might not have that capacity or ability, or they might not even care. I'll get back to you when I get back to you. So if people pressure and pressure and pressure, that can push people into even more negative spaces or just resent you a little bit. So be very careful when it comes to honoring boundaries, especially if you know that people are an empath, because they can take on way too much energetically and they don't need to be out in public for that to happen. People that are in public service, you want to think about doctors, nurses, police officers, firemen, teachers. Imagine how exhausting right now and always that has to be, and what people see, in the course of working a daily job. Some people might have depression, whether it is clinical or otherwise, Again, they could have, I don't know what the PC word is, you used to be able to say disability, and I don't mean that in any sort of negative sense, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I mean, I have hypothyroid, and that really can knock me out. I was in a coma for 3 days, and about 8 years ago. So things can really knock people out. So if you're trying to reach somebody and they don't get back to you right away, try to look at it from their point of view, like, oh, I hope everything's okay, instead of getting stressed out or upset, like, why aren't they answering me? I've had friends that are like that, like, I sent you a text 2 hours ago, why aren't you responding? Oh, well, because you're not my mother, basically. So just really be careful about honoring other people's boundaries and really enforcing your own. You're allowed to recover, rest, recuperate, take a break, shut off your notifications. You're allowed to respond to people when you're good and ready. I get the sense that most of the people that follow my channel are, maybe around my age range. I'm not sure. So you remember the time when you could just let the phone ring, and nobody could go and check on Facebook and see when the last time you were active was. So, you were entitled to that, and you could exercise the boundaries with a lot greater ease. So I think this is a really important topic, especially when people are dealing with so much right now. Light workers can also be under a certain amount of strain. There's that confusion, the ascension, dealing with negative energies. So this is a really heavy topic, I find, because it can really bruise the ego when people don't respond to you very quickly, or if you know that somebody has a certain affliction, you might be concerned about them, like if they're elderly, you might be worried that they slipped and fell in the bathtub and broke their ribs, and that actually happened to my son, but I was home at the time. So there's so many different things, so try not to let your mind go crazy while people are taking the downtime that they need to rest and recuperate, and recharge themselves before they get back to you. And if you really need to, you can send somebody a follow-up text or whatever. Hey, I'm here for you, just a little bit worried, but there's a difference between really pushing because it hurts your feelings, or acting from the heart center of love. So I hope all that made sense, you guys. And let me know what you think down below in the comments, and let me know if I missed anything. I love it when you guys give me feedback and say, oh, what about this? Okay, so I really appreciate that you guys, and I do appreciate you being here. So take care. Namaste. Bye.